Look at one more. On this next one, they ask us, well, they actually tell us that we've got sides A, B, and we have angle C, and they want us to actually solve the entire triangle, which means we need to find all the sides and all the angles. Now we need to think about which version of the law of cosines we actually need to use, and we're going to focus always on the angle here. Well, we have angle C, so we're going to use the formula for the law of cosines that has angle C in it. And that's the one that starts out with side C. So this will start out with C squared equals, and then we'll do our other two sides that we haven't used, our A squared plus our B squared, minus 2 times the two sides we just used, the A and the B, times the cosine of the angle that we have of the side that we start out with, which is going to match up with that, which would be cosine of angle C. So let's fill in what we do have. We have side A, which is 10, that we can fill in. We have side B, which is 3, we can fill in. And we do have angle C we can fill in. We do not have side C, so that would be what we would start to find first. So let's leave our C blank because we don't have anything we can fill in. We do have side A, which is 10. Remember our sides here to start out with are squared plus our 3 for side B, which is also squared, minus our 2 times our A, which is again 10, times our, B, which is 3, times our cosine of angle C, which we said was 15 degrees. We just need to be careful when we do this in our calculator and how we do this with our steps. So we've got our A, we've got our B filled in, and we've got our angle C filled in. So order of operations says that we need to do our exponents first. So we'll leave our C squared alone. The first thing that we'll do is our 10 squared, which is 10 times 10 is 100. We should actually be able to do a lot of this one without our calculator. The next piece is we've got 3 squared, which is 3 times 3, which is 9. Minus, if we wanted to do at least a tiny bit of this next part first, we could. We could do the 2 times 10 times 3. Well, 2 times 10 is 20, times 3 is 60. So we actually have 60 times cosine of 15 degrees. Order of operations, though, is going to make us do that 60 times cosine of 15 degrees first before we do anything. So let's go ahead and get that started. So we've got our C squared equals, we've got 100 plus 9 minus, let's figure out what that 60 times cosine of 15 is using our calculator. Well, what we get is a 57.96. Now continuing along, let's do our regular arithmetic. So we have our C squared equals, we'd have our 100 plus our 9 working from left to right, which would be 109. And then we'd subtract our 57.96. So 100 plus 9 minus our 57.96, which would give us a total of 51.04. We're not done yet. We have to get C. This is C squared. So to get C, we would take the square root of both sides of the equation. And that would cancel out the square root with the squared and would get us that C equals the square root of 51.04. And they did tell us to round lengths to the nearest tenth. So when we take our square root, let's do that. We got the square root of 51.04 gives us 7.1. And if yours is slightly off, like you got 7.2 or 7.0, it's probably due to rounding. That 51.04 for when you rounded the 60 times the cosine of 15. It's really up to you when you round. If you want to wait as long as you can to round, that might be better. If you don't, and somehow my math lab marks you wrong for rounding, don't worry about it. I go through each and every problem marked incorrect to look for rounding errors. So try not to worry about that. So, but we can go back to our picture and we can fill in our side C now. Our side C here is 7.1. So now we have all three sides and one of the angles, but we have not solved the triangle because we are still missing two angles. We need to get one more angle next, and then we'll worry about the last angle last. So one thing at a time. So at this point, we know that side C now is 7.1. We know that side A was 10. Side B was 3. And angle C was 15 degrees. Now we need to find either angle A or angle B next. It's really up to you. It doesn't matter which, because now we have, let's see, a matching angle and a matching side. So if we want to find one of the other missing angles and we will have its matching side, that means we can use law of sines to find at least one more angle. So let's use our law of sines, and I'm going to use A and C here, because remember, we should only ever have to use law of cosines once. Then we can backtrack and start using law of sines again, which is much easier. So we have sine of angle C over side C, which matches up with it, so that we can find angle A, sine of A over side A, and we can fill this in. We've got side C and angle C we can fill in. We're trying to find angle A, and we have side A. So what this will look like is sine of our 15 degrees over our side C, which was 7.1, equals sine of sine of our angle A, which we don't know, so we'll leave that blank, over our side A, which is 10. Now, how do we solve these using law of sines? We have to do our cross multiplying. So we'll do our 7.1 times our sine A. So it'll be 7.1 sine A on one side equals, on our other side, we'd have to do our 10 times our sine of 15. And then dividing both sides by 7.1 to get the sine by itself. And that will give us that now we have sine of A equals our 10 times our sine of 15 degrees all over 7.1. Last step, get rid of the sine by using inverse sine on both sides. Do not forget your parentheses when you do this, because we're going to be taking inverse sine of that entire fraction. That'll get rid of our sine on the right-hand side, leaving us with just angle A. So we should be typing in inverse sine of 10 times sine of 15 degrees over our 7.1. And let's see what we end up with. And what we end up with is 21.4 degrees for our A. And we have almost the entire triangle filled out. So now we can fill in that angle A here is, let's see, 21.4 degrees. So let's go ahead and fill that in. Now we've got all three sides and 2 out of 3 angles. So if we wanted to find the missing angle, remember all the angles in a triangle have to add up to 180. So I can take 180 degrees minus my 15 degrees minus my 21.4 degrees I already have to find my missing angle B here. And let's see what we get. We end up with 143.6 degrees, and that's our angle B. And so now we have all three angles, all three sides, and we've solved the entire triangle. And we're done. On this next problem, let's take a look at a real life example. So